Robin asks him, are you going to support me or the Jags? And the Soup tells him, sorry Robin, but I got to support the Jags. And at that point, Robin tells him, okay, I'm no longer effective as the Commandant, so I'm resigning. Well, it takes a few months to find his relief. That's basically the end of his time at the Air Force Academy, so it ends on kind of a low note. One of the highlights of Robin's time as Commandant is when Chappie James flew an F-4 from Eglin to Colorado Springs to give a lecture, and Robin jumped him overhead the Academy in a borrowed F-4, much to the delight of the cadets. The legend of that still exists to this day. Robin also snuck down to Miramar occasionally and flew with a new command called Top Gun. He was very impressed with the syllabus there, and he relayed this to the Tactical Air Command leadership, but they didn't take any action because they were very focused on the war in Southeast Asia, and they were satisfied that they were dealing with the threat appropriately at that time. The months to follow that input proved that Robin was right. The Navy had a 12-to-1 kill ratio, while at the same time the Air Force had a 1-to-1 kill ratio against the North Vietnamese MiGs. So ultimately they did create the Air Force Fighter Weapons School. But Robin was way ahead of the curve with his input for them to do so. I'm happy to say it's because of what he observed from Navy training at Top Gun. So Brigadier General Olds' last tour in the Air Force is as Inspector General. And over the course of that tour, he goes back to Vietnam to observe what's happening. It's now 1972. And this is Operation Linebacker. So at this point in the war, Navy, Marine Corps, and Air Force F-4 pilots are conducting MiG sweeps in a very aggressive fashion. And as a result, they make two aces. One is a guy that Robin refers to in his memoir as a disreputable Navy lieutenant, whom I shall not dignify by naming. And he talks about how he got his 3rd, 4th, and 5th MiGs on the first day of Linebacker. And the other is Air Force Captain Steve Ritchie, who's flying an F-4D with the triple nickel out of Udorn, who got his 5th MiG in August of 1972. In his memoir, Robin describes Steve Ritchie as a brilliant pilot despite his annoyingly cocky egotism. So 30 days before he leaves the IG office, he's required to file an official report with General Hardin, who's his boss. And in this report, they requested his opinion on how to cut expenses in Air Force operations, which he describes like sending a starving man into a supermarket. So he writes, I suggested they cut staff and functions across the board throughout the top echelons of the Air Force and the Department of Defense. Break down the Surgeon General's Pentagon empire, cut headquarters Air Force manpower by 50%, realign functions on a priority basis, let subordinate headquarters follow suit, eliminate the Air University, go contract. Eliminate SAC and TAC divisions and Air National Guard groups. Reduce the number of authorized Air Force general officers by 1/3. Reduce colonels by 1/4. Reduce in force 1/4 of System Command GS-12s and above. Reduce in force 1/2 of Logistics Command GS-12s and above. Stop the B-1 buy. Just equip C-5s with MERS and TERS for future wars. Give ICBMs to the Army Coast Artillery Corps. And return the Air Force to a mission-oriented service rather than the factory it had become. Finally, the last line of his report reads, retire one tired Brigadier General ranked 7th on the April 73 one-star list. He's of no use to you anymore. On June 1st, 1973, Brigadier General Robin Olds retired from the United States Air Force, exactly 30 years after he graduated from West Point. He and Ella retire in Steamboat Springs, Colorado, so he can pursue his love of skiing. Again, something he discovered during their honeymoon. But unfortunately, while their marriage barely survived his military career, it did not survive his life after the Air Force, and they divorced in 1976. And then tragically, Ella died of throat cancer 12 years after that. Now, at the end of his memoir, Robin writes about this recurring dream he kept having towards the end of his life, and it's beautiful. I taxi into a deserted ramp. Where is everyone? There's a ladder, but where the hell is my crew? I put my hand gently on my aircraft as the engine ticks. She's cool to the touch. Then I step away. Wait, there's a sound, singing. It's coming from an old hangar on the edge of the ramp. I walk toward it. I open a door and walk down the hall. I hear voices, laughter, breaking glass. I rub my face. Can it be? My mustache is back. I push quickly through another door, and there they all are. Dear God in heaven, there they are. There's Phil behind the bar, there's Chappie, there's Tex, there's Hub, there's Leon, Tui, Pappy, Jim, Steven, so many familiar faces. I know I'm dreaming, but this is the dream I've wanted. I yell to the group, Olds flight checking in. The singing stops. They turn toward me, a chorus of welcoming voices. Robin, Robin, you made it. You're here. A beer is shoved into my hand. Someone claps me on the back. Faces swarm around. I move down the bar toward an old piano. The piano player stands up and steps towards me. It's my father. Hello, Robbie. He grins. Welcome home. Hello, Dad. I smile shyly. I was a fighter pilot. Yes, son, you still are. I'm proud of you. He sits back down at the piano and says, now teach me some of those new songs, will you? I laugh. Sure thing, Dad, but first let me show you something. I turn toward the group. Hey guys, how about one more MIG sweep? There's a roar of approval, the sound of tables scraping back, the piano starting up, voices singing, pilots cheering. I gulp down my beer, slam the glass onto the bar, and link arms with my men. We turn to crowd around the piano. We sing, we drink, we retell our warrior tales, and we laugh. I have flown home. Robin Olds died of heart failure on June 14, 2007. His ashes are housed at the Air Force Academy. His legacy is one of an officer who was naturally gifted at his warfare specialty, had disdain for processes and bureaucracy without purpose, and took deliberate action against those when he found them, and always led by example. Times may have changed, but the example he set is still relevant, and military organizations still need men like him. All right, that'll do it for this episode. Check the links below for merch, including where you can get all forms of the Punks trilogy. Because of the demand by channel viewers over the last year and a half, it's now available in print, as a Kindle, and also as an audiobook. So I thank you guys for that effort. I dare say if you enjoy this channel but you have not read the Punks trilogy, you're missing a big part of the picture, so check it out.